Hey guys, it's Matt. This video is about seeing through this joke of reality. This royal stuff just cements what we already know. It is an absolute joke, everything that's being presented regarding these royals. I might sound a little bit tired. I am very tired. You'd be tired too. What's sunup now? Thank God sunup is a little bit later. 6:05. Two cats. One is I love you. And Bootsy, I want to be fed. I want to be. You'd be tired too. I feel like I just want to deliver. What's that comedian, Stephen Wright? I just want to do I'll perk up. I'll definitely perk up. I know I'm talking to you guys. I'll get in the mood, but I've got to start this at some point. It's before 8 a.m. And I feel like I have to start this like Stephen Wright. That was Emerson Lighthouse. My love goes where Rosemary goes. I got my monthly notification from YouTube, Google, about channel performance. It said something like 400 new subscribers on 87,000 people, millions of minutes watched, 400, and that's just new subscribers. That doesn't include the 350 that left that might have a personal problem with me, my looks, or the fact that a lot of people will leave after this video because of this presentation because it's the graduation of conspiracy, the absurdity of chasing it. I have to return to the screen a lot for the different layers of the classroom here. But so I get 400 new subscribers, about 350 left, 50 plus 50 net. Impossible. I could literally throw a keyboard, which was active to my account, off a bridge, and I should get more than 350 net subscribers a month. Whatever. Okay, the topic of this video is, at this point, it is so easy to see we live inside a fake reality conspiracy generation machine. That is given away. It gives itself away by every goddamn thing we look at. You've heard me say this before, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently here, is layered with a triple or a quadruple conspiracy. In many cases, it's layered for what level of, quote, truther you are. So no real world could do this over and over. We come out the other side, and the first thing we say is, I ain't going to chase that stuff anymore. I'm not going to do it. I mean, you'd think there'd be more trolls after me. I'm imploring you not to chase it and to do the end of the movie Revolver. Just walk by Ray Liotta that's saying, fear me, or research me, or chase me, or look at these breadcrumbs. I'm telling you to walk away from it. So those that serve the master reality, of course they're not going to like me very much. Okay, for those that aren't really following what I'm going to do here, let me just do one. Post-it notes are all over my walls here, like that scene in The Omen with the Bible pages pasted up all over the windows. I'm going to throw a dart. Okay, we'll do the basics. Same one we've always done, but it's the greatest way to start this example. The Titanic. Reality, fake reality generation machine, fake reality conspiracy machine generates this bullshit. No real world could pull this off. Here we go. Titanic. Okay. First level is what the normal person believes. They believe the stories and the Rose and the Jack and making it count and all that. They believe the iceberg. Matt, don't you know it was an iceberg? Oh, they believe all that bullshit. It was the grandest ship in the whole world. It was the grandest ship. But there was another one called the Olympic. How could it be the grandest ship in the world when it set sail? If there was another motherfucker out there named Olympic for 6 months, it was the same damn ship. Okay. So then we start the reality conspiracy fake generation machine starts, and all these breadcrumbs are laid down. You know what I'm going to say? So I'm going to be quick. I'm going to be quick about this one. We're going to do other ones a little bit differently. We hear, oh, it was for the insurance money. J.P. Morgan, White Star Lines wasn't doing good. And oh, yeah, but J.P. Morgan didn't put his own money into White Star Lines, so they simply switched the damn name and they sent that piece of shit that was in 3 accidents, the Olympic, out there to be sunk on purpose. Oh, and we investigate that. And that's a fourth grade truther. And then an 8th grade truther comes along and says, no, look at this. There were key billionaires on board that opposed the Fed. And that's like a 9th or 10th grade truther thing. Then once you get caught up there and believe that for decades of your life, and then you just go, and then you go, all the conspiracy keeps coming. And then you get to a point where you go, wait a second here. We don't really know what happened. It doesn't matter what happened because it's reality itself playing a trick, trying to draw me in to the investigation. Now, you don't see that, of course, upon your first or second or third or fourth investigation. You just think you're uncovering more stuff. But see, when you do it like, I don't know, for 12 or 13 or 14 years, and you've been through the same script, plays out the same way 1,000 times over, you say, wait a second here. Wait a second. Fool me once, shame on George Bush. Fool me twice, shame on my ass. It's playing out the same way every single goddamn time. So who would be dumb enough to chase it? We're going to do a lot of these types of examples. Well, Matt, you return to the screen. Yeah. And if you're ready to graduate, bon voyage. Go see Isaac and Vicky. Graduate. I have to serve the spitballers and the people in the middle of the classroom. I'll try to keep this as interesting as possible for the old guard. I don't want to lose the old guard. I think we have a little bit more work to do in terms of studying reality if you really want to get close as to what's happening here, but I don't think we have to do anymore. It's the worry about yourself takes over. Okay, that it wants to keep pulling us back in. The magenta, that's a little bit different right now. If I determine this is just another BS thing it's trying to pull me into, I'm going to jump out of it. But there are, nefarious techniques and reality manipulation buttons and levers that they use that are very dark. And maybe somebody's screaming at me from their bathtub saying, if they don't work on us, then it's irrelevant because these techniques are always going to work on the masses. Well, maybe. But, in terms of studying the techniques that are very nefarious, I think it is actually worth at least creating a better armor for ourselves to understand something like the magenta. So that's a little bit different right now than a screen exercise. There's another bang, bang, bang Lone Ranger event in some shopping mall or somewhere. I don't give a shit. I ain't going to look at that crap no more. Let me do another conspiracy staple quickly just to demonstrate the point I'm making. The JFK, two asses in a nation. The JFK assassination. But I'm allowed to talk about this. How many times has the JFK assassination, the conspiracy aspect of the JFK assassination been talked about? Come on, bot. Come on, sir. Let me talk about this. So, okay. Here we go. I'll be as quick as possible. You guys know where I'm going. I want to get to the end result. This proves the point. My father, he believes it was Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. Okay. But Matt, it's estimated like 100 million Americans don't really buy that story. They think something else was going on, and they're meant to think something else was going on by design. But then if you become a real conspiracy researcher, then you jump into it and be like, oh, that Oswald story. But then you look into one of the specific potential culprits in the police lineup. We've done it a million times. I'll be quick. The Fed, the military-industrial complex, Castro, the Russians, whatever. How many, they probably are adding to the police lineup instead of removing potentials. The police lineup for JFK just gets bigger and bigger, which is completely impossible and unnatural, and only a conspiracy generation machine reality could do that. Some folks or some groups would be acquitted by now if anything were real. So then they dive into that. Then you get into you think you're becoming in a master's degree or PhD level truther. You become very arrogant and very I'm superior to other truthers, and you say, what happened in Dealey Plaza? Nothing. Absolutely squat. That's it. Then PhD truther researcher has it all figured out. Like a lot of other things, what happened? Nothing. Wait, no, but then you have confirmational evidence that nothing happened, but this isn't the end. See, it wants you to think whatever is delivering the endless conspiracy through the screen, wants you to think that you've crossed the finish line. This is a theme that potentially could be taken, the tricks of this reality could be taken through death. We have to be very careful about this. It wants you to believe you're in a certain state. And maybe you're not. We'll talk about that maybe later or some other time. It wants you to think you've hit the end, but you haven't hit the end. So what happened? Absolutely nothing. And then there's evidence that lines up. All you have to do is look at the ridiculous, what is it, Abraham, whose name matches Ford's Theater, Abraham Zapruder, in his interview just an hour and a half to 2 hours after is the most ridiculous thing, you'll ever see. If I was inserting video at this moment, I would insert that same clip of the Bozo show I've shown you many, many times. Bozo, Bozo, Bozo. The Zapruder is so non-believable. Okay, so we got it all figured out, right? What happened? Nothing. But then that's not going far enough. Then you think, well, then they faked it with the, well then, no, you have to see, you have to back up far enough to see this is what the reality itself does at the highest level. Any minions that are organizing, or those that just say the secret societies are doing it all, certain groups are cogs or machine parts to execute the master trick, but you have to see, you don't have it figured out if you say nothing happened in two asses in a nation. You don't have it figured out at all. Only getting close to figuring out when you see the entire reality is structured in a very unnatural way. No real world could do this, and it's all a trick. All right, let's do another one. I don't remember exactly Vincent's email from yesterday. Probably going to fill in some things he didn't say in the email just so you guys can understand. But he basically came to me and said, Matt, look, here's the thing, what's going on with space. They want us to believe, first level, they want us to believe it's very difficult. The purpose of Gemini, Apollo missions, the potential catastrophe with 13. It's very difficult. People risk their lives. You need a certain level of technology, all this stuff. Okay. Then the truth community, we agree so far, the truth community is hit with breadcrumbs that expose that, of course, let's just keep it at first level. Space is not what they say. We'll just keep it at that. We think we found videotape where they made a mistake. Oh, look, there's a guy flying by on a wire up on the ISS. Oh, look at that, Joe. We really caught him. We really caught him there. Oh, look, there's somebody reaching out for an object that's not there. That means it's all CGI. Oh, it's in a pool. Oh, we caught him. Okay. That's just, we're still now progressing. Now we're at fifth grade truth. We're, at NASA, SpaceX, whatever. They couldn't just get a couple interns from the college to just proof the tapes before they go out to the public. The truth community actually caught the mistakes. Oh, sure they did. Yeah. I fell for it too. But I stopped falling for that bullshit probably about 2016 or 2017. Well, if you're looking at a guy with a wire, that's exactly what they want you to find. I mean, isn't that obvious at this point? Are there people still on BitChute looking for the mistakes? I mean, they're all on purpose, of course. The reason for it would be same Vincent's reasoning here, which we're still on the same page. Vincent's reasoning would be they want us to believe it's completely cake in a lake, inaccessible fake. They want us to of course they want us to believe that. So I like where Vincent's going here. So he's saying, well then, Matt, I'm reading between the lines. He didn't exactly say this in the email, but Matt, you always take the approach of do the opposite, or let's go to the opposite. They want us to think that it's completely inaccessible. Nobody goes into a StarKist can and goes, but then that means, Matt, that must mean it's extremely accessible. That must mean potentially it's a fluidic or ether or something they can go into, or where they put their satellites, or something they can go into with breathable oxygen, or I'm extrapolating on Vincent's email, or something they can go into with like a diver's suit or a hazmat suit. Matt, they want us, obviously we've all taken the bait in this community. It's completely inaccessible. That means just do the opposite, right? It's accessible. Okay, but where does that leave us now? Something new to investigate. It's exactly what it would want, in my opinion. Leaves us with something new to investigate. Now, I've never heard anybody say how accessible that ether is up there, or space is, or how they could potentially come and go. So maybe the reality generation machine doesn't have anything built, doesn't have anything ready to go. Somebody just pause this right now and try to research it. Maybe there's not a whole lot there. But in my opinion, If just a small group of people said, oh, they want us to think it's inaccessible, therefore it's accessible, and 50 real people say, I'm going to make it my mission to investigate that. I don't know how it works, but it works something like this. In my opinion, I've seen this enough for enough years, the breadcrumbs will start to come. Okay? No real world could do this. Look, in 1952, there was an experiment that showed, in my opinion, the reality will start to generate the breadcrumbs if somebody or a small group of people want to take on the mission that space is completely accessible, but it's not what they say, and it will come. Okay? If you build it, if you think it, it will come. I'm convinced this is how reality works. I've just seen it play out too many times. Therefore, let's not forget the basic premise here. To chase basic conspiracy is insane at this point. By this notion, then, a critical mass of people believing in the Mandela effect, of which I am Mandela affected, would create more Mandela effects, right? If this line of reasoning at all has merit, as a critical mass of real people are believing in it, expecting it, then more will come. Now, to be fair, somebody taking the podium against this crazy theory that I'm throwing out, that's no longer crazy to me, that reality itself generates the endless conspiracy and only a fake matrix type environment could do that, they would say, Matt, well, as more and more millions got on board with the Mandela effect, Mandela effects haven't increased exponentially. Okay, but I didn't say they would increase exponentially. I don't know the rules here or how it works. They have kept coming. Is that the purpose of the Fiona Broome thing? To implant? We all know whatever that wasn't legitimate. Whatever. Dan, I haven't talked to him for a scare performance or whatever. He called into the show that, like George Norrie and that what is that stuff? A George Norrie show, Coast to Coast or whatever. I mean, it's all of the system. There's no legitimate attempt to be helping us out at those types of shows. Of course, it's all of the system. But is that the idea, to implant the idea of the Mandela effect so more can be created, almost like a Whopper Joshua experiment that they're conducting. They conduct experiments on the belief set of real people to see how it affects reality. Of course they do. So back to what we've talked about many times, you just throw a dart into any of the sticky notes on the wall in any topic. What is politics? The fact that the reality can continuously build layers of conspiracy that can gobble up your interest and your attention as you graduate from other layers. Maybe if it could do this once or twice in a lifetime, maybe the minions running around in their secret societies could be able to do this. It does it almost every single time. You find, what is politics? A conservative, we've talked about this a million times, but conservatism is a very natural pushback on a whole political and governmental system that just makes no sense. $4 trillion a year spent. Anybody under age 65 that's not on Medicare and Medicaid basically sees nothing for the $4 trillion spent. Well, what about roads and highways? No, that's state money. They get some federal. They basically see nothing. Conservatism is a natural pushback. It's the first infant's cry out of something isn't right here, and I'm going to push back. And then the system is designed to gobble that person up with the graduated animal farms. So they believe they're now getting truth. And you hear it's this. They have a ready-made story at each level. The conservative then hears, well, don't you know, said all the reporters, it's liberal bias. All the reporters come from Harvard and Yale and Bard College and Vassar and Wesleyan, and they will continue to push. They're all scratching each other's back, pushing Democrat principles and liberal principles. It's all liberal bias. Then you get stuck there and you get into the dynamic. No, and some people break free from the chicken ranch. I'm not going to do the whole graduated animal farm thing from the book all over again, just another minute or two. Then you get to the next level. Oh, wait a second. These politicians are mostly puppets that serve The deep state's something that doesn't go anywhere, something that doesn't need an election to come and go. Oh, that's who's really in control. Then you think you found the ultimate truth and it keeps you there. Then you say, wait a second, the deep state, maybe it's just not country specific. Maybe there are these influencers that rule over countries. Those that go to the Bilderberger meeting, welcome to Bilderberger, the home of the Bilderberger. Those that go to that meeting, the president, the prime minister now to me looks more like a puppet. And it's a dark cabal. And the purpose of Alex Jones and others is to catch people at different layers. Well, Matt, what's your purpose to catch it? What layer? I don't know if there is a layer past what I'm proposing here. But I'm not dumb enough to think I've ever found the finish line, because every single time in the past we believe we found the finish line, we didn't. So obviously you can graduate out. Reality keeps showing you the next layer up. It's no different than going into the elevator. Who was the elevator operator? It was Brie Larson in our example, a nasty Brie Larson in the elevator. What floor you want? Are you a man, aren't you? Wait, the next floor up will be the real truth. And it's part of how reality works. It's fake, and no real world that's not a matrix could do this. So you just have to get off the elevator and worry about, people still get on me, worry about yourself. They get it, they say, that's selfish. That's selfish. When we finally can see that every bit of reality, it's Ray Liotta at the end of Revolver. Once come investigate me, come check me out. Look, there's a whole new theory on this. Come put your energy and attention into me so I can suck your louche. That's what it is. But in that reality that we know exists, it just wants your constant energy and attention, then taking that away, cutting off its food source, worry about yourself. What are you here? Make sure you get done by the end of your life what you are here, or what the spiritual part of you that's not here, what you are here to do. Do you think the spiritual part of you that's not here is like, I put you into that reality to chase conspiracy, or to start noticing things like Triple X in the diner? It seemed good to begin with, but I started noticing things. You like this Richardson high heels here would have blisters the size of pancakes before lunch. And see, that's what we're doing now. We're noticing things about how the reality as a whole works and how it tries to suck the attention and energy from real spirits, and we're learning to walk away from it. This leaves, I guess, a lot of truth channels angry at me, wouldn't it? Wouldn't if everybody saw what Alex Jones is and graduated out, that wouldn't be good for Alex Jones, right? Who's Alex Jones serving? Who are the trolls serving that try to take me down? It leaves no business model for the conspiracy that's left. In almost any topic that people know of, or your neighbor would know of, a topic of history or science or even technology, you could throw a dart, just open the book up at random and throw a dart at one of the paragraphs, and there will be something that will generate conspiracy. There's a conspiracy or layers of conspiracy attached to almost everything. Everything I could think of that's considered a big part of society, culture, or what is history. We just did it with the submarines 2 videos back. Yeah, the submarines. People were asking me to be closely considered and carefully evaluated for the prestigious Pootie Tang Award, where they said, and by the way, nuclear weapons aren't even real. And then me and the old guy were like, did you ever hear that before? No, I never heard that before. How long you been doing? I never heard that before. I'm not aware of that. But just it's a good example in terms of what we're looking at here. So nuclear weapons on top, inside the nuclear vessels, are they real? Oh, that's a part of the regular news. There's a whole lifetime of conspiracy in there, if you want to check that out. People were sending me conspiracy about the real purpose of submarines, that they go out into the netherworld, or they go into the inner earth and all this stuff, or they're used to transport, these big ass objects. They're not, of course, it's not what you what they say it is. It's not for defense. It's for other reasons. And all this conspiracy started to pop up with, well, Matt, let me tell you what submarines really are for. Okay, if that was the only conspiracy that was able to pop up in the last 2 or 3 years, there's triple, quadruple layer conspiracy in almost everything. And people still think that you're looking at tens of thousands of layers of conspiracy, and the secret societies are pulling this off. What do we got for lunch? They're sitting around the smoking table. What do we got lunch coming in today? Yeah, but just Subway sandwiches. Subway sandwiches? Coleman promised us the cracked crab and the lobster. Can't we have both? Subway sandwiches? And one guy has a bit of bad beef like Scrooge, and he's sitting on the pot. And this guy's coordinating tens of thousands of different layers of conspiracy. Yeah, okay. And then what'd they do before cell phones? What'd they do before the internet? How'd they pull off? We see the same layers of conspiracy throughout history going back hundreds of years. How'd they pull all that off? Just, Matt, 2 words, son of a bitch, carrier, pigeon. Now, there's only 2 ways to pull all this off, and it depends on where you are on the sliding scale as to how real you believe the world is. If the sliding scale is a little bit more down towards the left and the world is a lot more real than people like Matt believe it to be, the only way this can be pulled off is if anybody you would call real is on some sort of download. Literally, their thoughts are not their own. They're on some sort of frequency. You know, Henry Kissinger gets up in the morning, or does he still get up in the morning? He does whatever he does, believing it's all him, where he's obviously being used and serving something else. That's a possibility. That's not a real world. When I say this can't happen in a real world, what's your definition of a real world? If tens of millions of minions believe their thoughts are their own, but they're executing something that we can't see in the shadows called not nilk or screen, or a Christian would call Satan, and they're not aware of it, and they're just executing a script where they themselves don't even believe it's a script. That's not a real world. I'm sorry. That's still my sentence of or quote of no real world could do this, I think still applies if that's the case. But if you slide down the sliding scale more towards the right, then things become fluid reality, matrix type things. You know, it just it's more of the classic definition of the reality or conspiracy generation machine. Can just generate it overnight, whatever it wants, in an instant. Like the way I've said before, I'm more on the right side. Down here, I believe we live in a gigantic Mandela effect. I think things change all the time. We notice very few of them. The few we notice, the 5 to 10 that really hit home with us become anchor effects or Mandela anchor effects. The other 40 million changes that have happened throughout our lifetime, we just sync up with just like everybody else. That's how I think it works. That, of course, can never be proven. This all leads us to the biggest problem, some would say, with this theory, or people might like the theory, but there's such a big problem in this one area that they'll never be able to camp onto it. It's the problem of the heavy objects in this world, the problem of the Great Pyramid. Oh, that's also, by the way, a triple, quadruple conspiracy. It's filled with sand and this and that. It was built in 1850. Oh yeah, just what a coincidence. Even that's a triple or quadruple conspiracy. The heavy objects, but let's forget that for now. The heavy objects, the megalith sites all over the world, and Petra and the Via Cavas and the Göbekli Tepe, all this stuff all over the world. And then you have also the cathedrals, of which there's, there's 200 plus big ones where nobody could comprehend how they could be built with donkey, burrow, jackass, hammer, and rope. And then there's other structures that are not necessarily the cathedrals, but things like the Taj Mahal, where the reality tells us they brought in, I want to say 2,500, but I think Wikipedia said 25,000 artisans. You know, this is my favorite thing in the world to talk about. How were they able to bring in the 25,000 artisans? What were they doing around India? They were just smoking hookah all over India. It was like tens of millions of square miles, and they had a big sign, a sandwich sign on their back saying, I'm an artisan that's capable of producing gigantic domes down to the millimeter. If you need me, call this number. Or, well, they would have no number to call. How'd they get the 25,000 artists? Matt, don't stray on this. You've done this a million times. But it's my favorite thing in the world. It breaks reality. Just this one example breaks the reality down. So the problem is the heavy objects, guys. So, Matt, I'm just not willing to go as far as you with your examples. Okay, but why? So over here, you know, a lot of people will tend to agree. Over here, you see that for these 1,000 subjects or 1,000 conspiracies, they're all triple layer, quadruple layer, and you're starting to see that, no groups sitting around smoking rooms and smoking tables could have pulled all this off. Especially, what did they do before fax machines, the internet, and cell phones? How they get the messages out to everybody? Just the carrier pigeons must have been incredible. How they coordinate all the triple level conspiracy going back to the time of Christ. So the people are starting to come around, but like, Matt, I'm not coming. I see over here the impossible level of coordination, but I'm not going to apply that to the heavy objects. Why not? If you see a fake reality, then there's no difference to me between the Great Pyramid, Khafre, Khofra, Coco. There's no difference to me between that and a Kit Kat dash. Maybe that's taking a little bit too far, but I don't think you can have your cake and eat it too. You can't be starting to come around to seeing that all this endless conspiracy couldn't have been pulled off by men and women in smoking rooms, and then say, but that couldn't possibly, none of the reality tricks could apply to the heavy objects just because they seem heavy. Well, isn't that a little short-sighted? A little small? Well, I trust my senses. They wouldn't lie to me. But what about science that says, that objects and the structure of whatever makes them up, atoms and everything? See, here we go. Someone's going to be dying for a Pootie Tang Award. He said atoms. I can't wait to comment. Let's do a sidebar on atoms. It's 99.9999 or whatever empty space, and a damn gigantic block in Khafre or Khufu should weigh like a feather because it's all empty space. But God forbid you question what your senses would never lie. The senses couldn't be the tricksters of this realm to fool you into thinking something, could they? No, the senses are mine. They work for me. Are you sure? So that, was it Richard Feynman lecture we looked at a few months back, the famous physicist who had the famous quote on, on exploitation, on experimentation. What's the difference, though? Experimentation is exploitation of the senses. Richard Feynman says, and he's so charismatic, and the audience in Stanford just couldn't comprehend that there was actually an egghead type who could do the math, who was also charismatic at the same time. They'd never seen anything like that. I guess I was going to say that's what made him so famous, but he did have some good quantum theories. I'm not trying to take everything away from Richard Feynman, but he said, he got up and put a hand up. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. And then if I'd love to be in that class, I can't do the damn math, and I'm not as smart as that guy, even 1 degree, but I'd raise my hand like Donnie Darko, that scene from Donnie Darko to Patrick Swayze, and said, there's no questions till the end. No, I'm asking my question now, and I'm not going to leave this lecture hall until you address this question, Dr. Feynman. Didn't you see that scene in Donnie Darko? Do you want me to call you a psychopath like Donnie called Patrick Swayze? Now, my question is, if it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. Well, what is the purpose of experiment? To tell your senses what you just observed. Dr. Feynman, why do you believe your senses? Who do you think your senses works for? Do you think your ego and senses serve you, your higher self, and your spiritual self, or do they serve this realm? You dumb son of a beach. Well, son, before I throw you out of this class, what choice do I have? I have to perform the experiment. The experiment can only reach my mind through my senses. Exactly. What do you mean exactly? I mean exactly. Would I be better off not performing the experiment at all? Yes, of course, you'd be better off not performing any experiment at all, because reality is going to show you what you expect to find, and it's going to serve itself by making you believe what it wants you to believe. You'd be better off, sir, frolicking around a meadow naked than performing your dumb physics experiments. I had to go look it up. I was trying to remember Donnie Darko. Donnie Darko in the Patrick Swayze lecture auditorium, he calls Patrick Swayze the Antichrist. And by the way, I believe you're the Antichrist. He doesn't call him a psycho or with a path like I said. So I apologize for that. But you scientists, what did the guy with the flowing white hair and contact? These scientists here, as Jodie Foster rides by, these scientists, you don't realize, scientists, through your experiments and your senses, you are actually serving the not-nilk reality itself through the results of your experiments. Then they are communicated to real spiritual beings, real people. Then they believe your bogus experimentation, where the reality is showing you what you expect to find or what the not-nilk reality wants. Then millions of real spiritual beings believe in your scientific results, and then that actually helps cement the reality that the dark not-nilk reality wants. You scientists, these scientists here, are used by the reality itself more than any other group. What the hell? You've lost your mind, boy. If I could authorize your incarceration, I'd do it right now. It's a good thing there's a lot of weirdos out on the internet. There's been a precedent set that you could kind of talk this crazy and not be put into a white room. But to get to these types of insane revelations, kind of where I am, you need to go through the bog. You need to get into the bog. You need to check out endless conspiracy, endless fake events, this present. The same themes repeat, the same scripts repeat, the same types of catastrophe thespians, people making statements and presentations in the same way, certain pertinent facts or items being hidden in the same way, tempting people with the truth, and it never comes out. During the Trump administration, they're going to release the JFK documents. Oh, here we go again with that. What came out of it? Squat. What happened about 2 years ago? UFO disclosure. Oh, here it comes. They're going to be forced to admit something. It heated up. UFO disclosure. What basically came out of it? Squat. The whole thing with these royals, to me, screams fake reality. What does that mean, Matt? Does that mean Prince Charles or King Charles now, or whatever, is he not the same as you and me? I don't think it's worth trying to. I know it's not worth trying to get those details anymore. All I'm going to do going forward for myself is it's either genuine or not genuine. If I put it in the classification as of not genuine, then I don't care to try to find out the details. That's the breadcrumbs it'll lay for me. That's exactly what it would want me to do. And if anybody's throwing the rubber ducky screaming, Matt, basically everything that comes from the screen through society and culture is not genuine. Well, that is correct. That's kind of the final resting spot. But let's just look at the royals. I mean, is it any coincidence it's just riddled with scandal? Absolutely, it's riddled with scandal. We have been going all the way back through Diana, and he was cheating on Diana with Camilla, Tomato, Parker Bowles, and then you have the whole Jimmy Savile relationship with Prince Charles, and what a coincidence. He's proud of the fact that he has Transylvania Count Dracula heritage, admits it himself. Oh, what a coincidence. All the scandal and controversy and conspiracy always has to be part of the reality script. I don't know when the documentary came out, but what a coincidence. 3 or 4 weeks ago, I go to HBO Max, and there's the Diana documentary. And I don't know why, just like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I put it on. I don't follow anything going on with the Queen or her health. Just happens to all hit at about the same time. Maybe the Diana documentary's been out for years. Again, I don't know. But what a coincidence from my perspective. Just happened to turn that on a few weeks back. And that documentary, or this particular one, I forget what it's called, it's just a gigantic amalgamation or collection of everybody that ever put a little handheld camera in Diana's face when she's walking on the street or coming out of this building or going into this restaurant or giving this speech about landmines, and all kind of amateur filmish, all pieced together. And Of course, she had writ all the controversy and ridiculous conspiracy regarding the chasing of the paparazzi through, oh, what a coincidence, the Bridge of Souls tunnel, the 13th pillar. Oh, here we go again. Endless conspiracy generation. I know certain group here, it's all planned out by the secret societies. Of course, what was I thinking? And then that conspiracy, it's right through the royals today. There will be controversy and scandal and more crap that just keeps coming. The Queen's Jubilee and all the truthers covered it. It was she showed that it was not just the magenta presentation, but she showed a triple helix DNA and all this stuff. It's all reality conspiracy generation machine by design to get truthers' attention. That's basically what all of culture and society is with its conspiracy attachment. For some reason, our best friend or our cousin and brother, they take in what seems to be the same society and culture. It might be a completely different reality in a different reality bubble, but it molds itself in a different way for them. It's a chameleon. It's a doppelganger. It'll change depending on what type of person is looking at it. No real world could do this. But does anybody think the scandal and the controversy and the stuff that's going to hit the truth community is going to stop now that Charles is in there, or if he goes out prematurely, William gets in there? It will never stop. Then you step back, and you step back 80,000 more times, and you notice what the reality as a whole is doing to you. So I'm watching this documentary on HBO Max on Diana. Again, a lot of amateur filming, catching her walking here or going there or giving a speech here or there. It just seems so unnatural to me. Every bit of it seemed like a script. Her reactions, she seems like a script. She's the same smile in every single case. It's just weird. And then you get into that thing like we ask in this community, we say, well, who's taking this picture? Or who's posing for this picture? Or how did they get this image or this video if it's not all part of a gigantic script? And how the script is accomplished is just, it's beyond any means we'll ever understand. And we're even by doing what we're doing here, we're too close to it, but I've got to convince somebody, some of you left in the Amish classroom, I've got to convince this is the case with reality itself and convince you to start moving away and walking away from every bit of it. But so it starts with, rumors, Prince Charles is courting Diana, or has he asked you to marry him? And whatever, I forget what it was, where maybe when they first started dating, she's walking down the street and all these cameras, or not that many cameras, but 4 or 5 people are around her and little kids run up to her. And you say, well, this is like a script. Like, what's she doing just walking down the street? And if she is now associated with Prince Charles and the paparazzi are all over her, she has to walk out onto the street and get in a little red car, little piece of shit, and drive away. If anyone's like, well, what do you mean? She was just a regular girl, had a regular life. No. It's a script. Go look into the Spencers. Who you think he just married some librarian up in Notting Hill? She happened to be working the ancient book room, and go look who the Spencers are. The Spencer mansion. Of course, it's all old money. They don't just marry. It's all about bloodlines. Of course it is. So she comes from this ridiculous old lineage, old money, but she's just walking the street and the cameras come up and she gets in her little red car and drives away. There'd be no means to have a private driver. I mean, guys, it's all a script. Look at Jimmy Savile. I mean, honestly, if you could create a cartoon character that exactly looks the part of despicable, there's been charges after he died of all this pedo stuff. Nobody could look the part as a cartoon character, the part of some low-life slime more than that. That's like a reality giveaway. It's like, it's like a script. I mean, look at him. You couldn't design, if you designed that character and it was like a Jupiter Ascending Part 2, somebody would come back and be like, this is too stereotypical. You have to just make this character look more normal. So it's all a script, guys. Who knows how it's pulled off? Who knows how many real people there are here? Maybe very, very few of us. So the last part of this theory is the reality can be at least two different things to do two different groups. To us, it has become a cartoon. Everything breaks down. Its presentations are absurd. We see right through it. It's a joke. Now, it might literally or realistically be something completely different to your cousin or your brother or your best friend, meaning like the two reality bubble theories. It's not that it's so proven that we can't show people this. It's so proven that nobody will ever come around. My friend Tony will never sit down with me and say, yeah, I'd like to sit at your old Mac, and you show me all your evidence, and if it's good, I'll come around. They just never do that. So it's almost like the reality to us, we see a complete bozo show. Bozo. Where it literally is like showing something different or much more believable to our cousin or your friend Tony or whoever it may be. But there are other ways to explain the same things. The ship of fools. Everybody on the frequency sees the reality that wants to present itself in a legitimate fashion. Those on the download, those on the frequency. It's all kind of the same way of saying, a different way, of saying the same thing. And we'll never understand the mechanism, but the good news at the end of the day is still the same good news. It's probably not reality breaking down as much as we are breaking away from it. If it's becoming absurd, it's likely not absurd to my friend Tony. It's legitimate. We live inside a gigantic Mandela effect. Everything morphs and the people go along with it. But if you don't go along with it, it looks odd to you. If you remember the sky has always been blue and it changes over to a different color, well, then that's very strange to you. And that's what's happening to us as we're separating from it. This is all very good news. We're rooting to other places. We're disconnecting from it. And this might be likely is a very natural process for those that are done with it, or for those that aren't coming back again, or for those that are ready to graduate. It's all very positive. And it might be far more positive the fact that we see bozo. We see all that, and our friends and family can never see it. It's very negative maybe for them. Maybe they're a young soul. Maybe they have a lot of work to do. But for us, and the worry about yourself philosophy, it's very positive because it means there's kind of something special happening to us. If it would be kind of dark and very scary if reality was breaking down the way and everybody saw what we see. Reality glitches, complete bozo show, anarchy and chaos starts to break out because my friend Tony and your cousin and your brother, they see everything you see. Reality can't sustain itself or maintain itself. And that would be worse. I mean, because it would mean all of reality is being flushed and it wouldn't make you special. I don't want to be in the same boat as everybody else. Do you? So if everybody saw, it's good news that my friend Tony can't see this. If everybody was seeing what I could see, then that doesn't tell me anything about who I am or what I'm becoming or if I'm ready to graduate. And overall, of course, the crazier it gets, it's not getting crazier potentially because it's breaking down per se. It's getting crazier because you're further separating yourself from it. And it cannot sustain its believability from your perspective. It's all, from the end of the day, it's all very good news. Of course, to a group that's here, I take back everything I said over the last 45 minutes, and it's the secret societies running around planning a triple conspiracy in 10,000 things. Thanks for listening.